throughout the career and, having a family, you just think, yes, I have a family and I have the career, but there's been compromise along the way.
And I think that's such an important message, especially to the women today, and especially those that are starting their career with ACCA. There is going to be some sacrifices, but also it's okay. You're human. Hello and welcome to ACCA's brand new podcast, which is The Journey to CFO. My name is Rachel Shorter and I'll be your host for today. In each episode, we're going to be exploring not just the people, but the people behind the title. We'll be looking at real life challenges and successes. I'm joined today with Cécile Parker. Cécile is the Group CFO for Vital Energi. She comes with 25 years of experience on board level and also energising businesses by working with them on strategy. Most recently, Cécile played a pivotal role in Vital Energi's securing 175 million of Nordic bond, not just a milestone for herself, but a milestone and growth for the business. Welcome to ACCA's Journey to CFO podcast. Lovely to have you.
Thank you, Rich.
Before I start, how was your journey here today? Because I know you're coming from Manchester.
It was okay. Everything went well. Avanti didn't let me down.
That's brilliant. So the whole podcast is just about the journey to CFO, just looking at how we got here, why we're here. How does ACCA bolster up in our career? And myself and you, we had like an hour and a half long conversation just talking about life and the profession. And what really sparked to me was the reasons why you'd done ACCA and how it bolstered you. Can you just talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm French. I studied in France and in Holland. I did a double business degree. And at the end of that, I needed to do a placement in an English-speaking country. So I didn't speak English fluently at the time. This is at the ripe age of 21. And I moved to Ireland, of all English-speaking countries. So you might hear the accent sometimes. But moved to Ireland. I worked in Drogheda in Coca-Cola. And Coca-Cola was basically sponsoring ACCA. And one of the ladies that I got really friendly with at Coca-Cola was also doing it. And I thought, let's do it. Nice. Why not? So I started on my journey. So at the time I was working in accounts payable. Yeah. I think we all have to start somewhere. Started right at this level, of entry level basically. And went on the journey of ACCA. And pretty much from there I kind of knew that I wanted to move up and up within the finance department. The CFO there actually, as I was reflecting on our conversation, I thought, what actually sparked this? And I think the CFO there at the time, who was a quite a young lady in my mind anyway, I thought she was superb, and I thought this is what I want to be. So I think that influenced me.
Yeah, so that's quite interesting because that leads on to my next question of like, what did you always know you wanted to be a CFO? Was that always the North Star? So
I've always been very driven, and that was kind of an internal drive rather than external forces. But again, reflecting on that, I think I was also trying to prove myself to a rather difficult parent. So that kind of, I've always had that drive. Even at school, I always wanted to be top of the class. So I was a big nerd. No surprise to that. Always at the front of the class. Yeah. I think I'm still quite nerdy. I say that to my son quite often. There's nothing wrong with being a nerd.
Exactly.
But yeah, so that drive has always been there. And there's always that kind of need to achieve and always get to the next goal. So I guess when you start in finance, you kind of think, well, the ultimate goal is that CFO role. Now, is it the CFO role? It could be
it's a bit
CEO
of everything.
Role. It could be
a bit of everything. I feel like the profession can take us in different directions, which is brilliant.
We get the grounding for so much.
Exactly. So you started at accounts payable.
Yeah.
We then see that your career progression just went up and up. You went through various roles. Was there anything in the midlife of your career journey that you thought, oh my God, like I don't know if I want to do this, or this is a little bit difficult? Did anything stop you in your tracks at all? Not
necessarily stop me, but I think there is a bit of a misconception that people will say you can have it all. I think you can have it all, but probably not all at the same time. And where I'm getting at here is family life and career. So as I said, I've got an 18-year-old, Matthew, really proud of him. I'm twice divorced. I'm engaged again, third time lucky, eh? I keep going.
There's always a way.
But throughout the career and, having a family, you just think, yes, I have a family and I have the career, but there's been compromise along the way. For example, I wasn't at the school gate every day. Yeah. And sometimes you get judged for that from other mums, some that are just at the school gate or even some that are at work. But I guess I made that decision. I wanted to have a strong career and be financially stable to be able to give experiences to Matthew that, I wouldn't have been able to give otherwise. And I'm kind of at peace with that. I do know that, as I said, people will judge you whichever way you go. So when Matthew was at nursery, the first at 7:00 when they open and being picked up at 6 when they close, never really late, but on the dot. But I feel that it hasn't stopped his development and it hasn't stopped mine either. But it is a compromise.
Yeah, and I think that's such an important message, especially to the women today, and especially those that are starting their career with ACCA. We tend to think that you can have it all, and we hear that narrative, and there has to be a little bit of balance, and there is going to be some sacrifices, but also it's okay. You're human.
Yeah, exactly.
And it does work if you can find the right form in yourself, and I think you've done that. So now we're in the CFO seat, and it's been a journey, there's been sacrifices, but what surprised you the most about your first few, I would say, months as a CFO, when you finally sat in that seat?
It's a shock, basically, to find that when you're in that seat, it's quite lonely, isn't it? I mean, you're extremely. A CFO yourself. So prior to being a CFO, I was Group FD, for example. So my last 2 roles have been CFOs, but prior to that, I was Group FD in a large organisation. And there was a CFO, excellent mentor, actually, the best mentor I've ever had, Paul Humphreys. And he was kind of my comfort blanket. I don't know that you'd like me calling him that, but he was. So, I would recommend lots of decisions and, be very forthright with everything that I would say, but he was still there and, the buck stopped with him, whereas now the buck stopped with me. So that's a very, very different challenge, and you only get to experience it when you're in the seat, basically. Right. And also, I guess, when you're in that seat, you're still expected, so you're in the boardroom, working on the strategy and reviewing kind of very high-level decisions or matters, etc. But you're also expected to be able to, within minutes, to just go back to the spreadsheet and find, last Friday night, for example, I was trying to find an error in a spreadsheet that something had happened basically in one of my team spreadsheet, and you think, right, so you've got to be able to do both, literally from 1 minute to another. And
do you feel like because you came up from the accounts payables and you've done all the steps, that kind of helped you in your journey to CFO and helps you to be able to switch between the two?
I think so. Although now I like to spend less time in the detail, but you can't get away from the detail. But I think having that understanding of the various functions in the team, I think it's really, really important. Yeah. Plus, my own kind of motto, or I don't know, like maybe that doesn't translate in English very well, but I don't want to ask people in my team to do something that I couldn't do myself. So I like to understand where, not to the extent that they do it on a day-to-day basis. I probably wouldn't be able to post an invoice in our system today, but understand the process, globally. I think that really helps, actually.
Oh, absolutely. And it's the one thing that nobody in the boardroom can take away from you. It's your knowledge. Yeah. It's your experience. It's the fact that you're not just, you don't just have the trust of the board, you've got the trust of your team. Yeah. So you're leading them, which I think is really significant.
And I think, another point actually, understanding all the functions also give you that level of empathy when they come to you with a problem, and, it might be a big problem for them. Yeah. For you at your level, you just think, well, they've got much bigger issues at this point. But for them, it's a big problem in their world. Yeah. And actually, if you've been there before, that gives you that level of, understanding and then being able to support them in getting it solved, basically. Yeah. and never discount whether it's a problem at their level or at your level. It's still a problem for somebody. So
you've been a leader for a few years then, and you're leading a team.
Yeah.
Any challenges within leadership?
In my earlier years, because you are naive, right, initially, I thought I had to be the problem solver for everything. Right. So if there was a fire, I needed to hold the extinguisher, basically. I was like the superhero, which I wasn't, clearly. And actually, you can't do that. You've got to be able to rely on your team. And again, when you've got one of the things that I absolutely enjoy in my team is helping them kind of elevate themselves and progress. And I've promoted so many people around my career, and that's like one of the most joyful day when you go to somebody and go, right, you've got that promotion. I absolutely love that. And you want to elevate people, you want to support them in their growth. And sometimes that also means they leave you because they need to go beyond, and but by trying to be that superhero and kind of have the oversight, sometimes you can stunt their growth. So I think certainly in the last few years I've really been conscious of bringing people along on a journey, and potentially even bring them in the boardroom, and it's not like I'm not having them again as a comfort blanket. It's more you've got to realise that some people have got a better understanding or of a specific subject, and they are going to be better than you. And I do think that you're as good as your team. I know that's a bit of a cliche, but I really believe in that.
Absolutely not a cliche at all, that you are as good as your team. And one thing that you mentioned was like being their comfort blanket, but also almost like being their mentor, so that they can come and speak to you. And you spoke about having that person that you were able to, like your sounding block. If you was speaking to anybody now, what are the conversations that you would be having to them if they were like 3 years away from their CFO journey?
Just really push yourself. And Paul was very much doing that with me. So he would never give me the answer, which sometimes was highly frustrating because he would go, are you sure? But he was pushing me to really think about things. And so again, I consciously try and not be prescriptive when I work with my team or others in the business. But I think, just push yourself and constantly try new things, because there isn't really a time where you think, I'm absolutely ready for this. I mean, some people do, right? I guess there's different personality type, and some people will be ready, or they think they're ready at 22, and you kind of go, no, you need to learn, which, we've all met these people as well. But others, it's the well-known imposter syndrome, and I still have the imposter syndrome. When we started doing the Nordic bond raise, I had never heard of a Nordic bond raise before. So we learnt along the way, and it's very legal and very complex, and we had tons of advisors on both sides. We had English advisor, Norwegian advisors. So you can imagine, someone was lost in translation with the French. So it's very, very complex, and you also have to be not scared of saying, you know what, I don't know this. I've never done it before. So we're just going to have to learn together. And I think that also gives you more credibility rather than trying to wing it. And actually just, when something like that is at stake as well, you just have to say, I don't know this, but we'll work it through together.
No, I think that's a really good piece of advice.
So I would say push yourself, always put your hand up for things, even if you don't know exactly how to do it, you'll work it out.
No, I think that's brilliant. One of my greatest lessons when I took the transition from FD to CFO was my current CFO was going, he was retiring, and he put me in the seat. And I remember it was my first time in just going through a crisis. We had no money. I had no money.
Been there before,
and I went to him and I was just like, I don't know if I can do this. And he said, you will not make a good sailor on calm waters. You have to weather that sea. And that's always stuck with me. And you think that you can't do it, but actually you can.
You can.
And I like the fact that you're saying, just keep sticking with it, keep pushing through. And that's the only thing that, got me through sometimes. So I think that's a really good piece of advice. So outside of pushing through the numbers, raising a team, leading the business, you're in the boardroom. And we spoke about imposter syndrome. We spoke about being the female around the table and in that room. and a couple of the things that we've experienced. And I just wanted to touch point on that because you mentioned it just briefly. When we talk about imposter syndrome and kind of weathering that storm, was there anything that helped you find your voice in that executive room?
For me, it's the preparation. So a disaster day for me is if I'm being put on the spot for something that I don't know anything about and I'm having to kind of, make it up as I go. I really don't feel comfortable with that.
Yeah.
I like to be prepared. So I put a lot of work in to do that. Probably over and above maybe what's needed, but that's just my way of coping with things. If not, my level of anxiety goes through the roof, basically. Right. So preparation is key, and that's also why I've got a number of other degrees. So I'm a fellow member of the ACCA. But I've also got an IFRS degree, which I did when my son was born, actually. So I'd been made redundant. So again, we'll talk about setback in a bit, but redundancy has happened to me twice. It does happen to, strong people as well. So being made redundant, Matthew was born, and I was getting bored, basically. So I thought, I'll just do a good degree. So for the 6 months that I was off, basically, I did an IFRS degree, and then I've done other things in terms of ESG reporting and AI and business valuation, and because I guess that's my comfort blanket, and I'll never stop kind of learning or studying, or I think that's really important. Plus, in our profession, we need to keep up to date with what's happening, right? So again, being a member of the corporate sector with the ACCA actually gives me that kind of exposure to what's happening forward.
No, nice. And one thing, what I really liked about our conversation as well is that we spoke about successes, and the journey to CFO is not an easy one. We know that, but we never really hear about people talking about some of the challenges, some of the setbacks. And you mentioned...
I've had a few.
Yes. You mentioned a few setbacks when we had our conversation, and then you spoke about when you were made redundant twice, having a baby in the tow, but you never had, you never took your eye off the Northern Star, which is great. Talk to me about some of those setbacks and how you was able to bounce back and still continue your journey.
So I think, I don't know if it's down to the organisation that I kind of joined at the time, but I've experienced bullies along the way.
Right.
Very strong bullies, people who make you believe you're not capable of doing anything, basically. My first finance director role, I had to whistleblow. So I joined the business, and there was some improper accounting, basically. And obviously what people deflected on was, well, she's just, a little girl. It's her first FD role. Can't be right. But actually, it was. A million had to be written off, and people got exited. And it was a very, very difficult time because at that point, the imposter syndrome is not small.
Right.
It's literally on your shoulder every single day, and it's it's towering you. And you've got that self-doubt, and you've got to keep going, basically. But again, it's all about doing the work and presenting the facts, and it's it has been tough, but luckily, for example, just after this FD role, my next one was very good, and again, I met some really good people along the way. I was recognised as one of the newcomers, so I was awarded recognition for that, and those things kind of help you bring yourself back up, basically. And I genuinely think that CEO at the time kind of did see something in me that needed to be rebuilt. And he knew that would help, basically. And that recognition kind of gave me my wings again to go, no, I can do this. And went again.
Just thinking about career and some of the things that set me back, where I thought was going to be a setback. And I had two of my children 10 years apart, and that was very strategic in my journey. And just touching on that again, is there something that you had to give up during your climb that you had to reclaim back? And how did you manage that?
So I think I'm still trying to reclaim back, but I think it's boundaries. And I'm still on that journey. I haven't won with that yet. I don't have the magic formula, but the work-life balance, I've not achieved what I need to achieve. And I've learned that the hard way with burnout, basically. So working, even when I'm on holiday, and well, pretty much all the time. So I do travel a lot. That's one of my passion. And people will say, "Oh, you're always on holiday." But what they don't see is, on a 12-hour flight, I'm on my laptop,
right?
Or in taxis, or literally as I'm walking on the Great Wall of China, and there is a bit of Wi-Fi. I'm answering an email. There was one actually that was quite funny. We were doing a deal, a purchase. A couple of years ago, and I was on a Teams call, and this guy was like, "Oh, your background of the pyramid is amazing." I was like, "No, I'm actually in Egypt right now because this call wasn't scheduled, but we're doing it."
Yeah.
So I think that's something I'm still working on, and I'm conscious that sometimes I don't necessarily send the right message to my team,
right?
Or my son for that matter, because he wants to do a finance apprenticeship, but he has said to me, "I don't want to work as hard as you, Mum," because he has seen me often on my laptop, and again, working at weekends and sending something to your team on the weekend. So then you go, right, I'll just send it. Sending on Sunday night is not good, so I'll just queue it to then send it on the Monday morning. But then they land in the office and they've got 8 emails from me. Is that better?
Yeah,
it's a difficult balance.
That's something I've experienced. Like when I took the step up between, I think we spoke about this, step up between FD and CFO. I think that was probably one of my hardest steps. It absolutely floored me, not just from loneliness, but the burnout piece, and kind of reclaiming those boundaries and finding out like what I can and can't do in this position. Like, can I say no? Is it easy to say no? Should I say no? Because they're going to look at me and say, are you the weakest link in the boardroom? So it's really hard to try and find that balance. And when we were speaking, we spoke about some of the things that you've done in your free time. You travel a lot and things like that. So when you do have some downtime, what does your life look like outside of the CFO?
So I've got a big dog, a boxer dog, and hiking with him is a total pleasure. And then traveling, like you said, traveling with my husband, or fiance even. Jumping ahead. We're on a mission to take many countries. So we do go to varied places that people will go, "What country did you say again?" So that's a real passion. And then meeting friends and I try to do a lot with my mother as well. So she's in France, so
Beautiful.
We intentionally, meet either in France or anywhere else around the world. We've just been to Japan together. We're going to Vietnam for Christmas and New Year. So these are very important to me, and working during this period actually doesn't bother me as long as I can do that as well.
Nice.
So that's kind of my way of reclaiming that. But I do know that I've still got some work to do.
So just thinking about resilience and some of the reset moments that we've had, not just in life, but in career as well, and how they shape us. And I really wanted to ask you, like, what professional setback has shaped you the most?
The burnout that I've experienced, not once, but twice.
Wow.
So we did a transaction when I was at JLA. So this is a good 10 years ago. And I just literally drove myself to the ground, basically. It was just very brutal. And I guess I didn't have the boundaries to be able to say no to some things.
Right.
So I tried to do everything, and it just didn't pay off. So I was carted to the hospital.
Really?
And that happened to me again recently, actually, in the first few months of being at Vital. Again, just trying to do too much and not having, I guess, the right team in place at the time. And again, being carted to hospital. So I am now very, very mindful that this can't happen to me again. I do need to kind of press reset every so often and go, no, tonight I'm not working until 9:30, 10 o'clock. I need to try and sleep. Plus menopause doesn't help.
No.
Proudly going through it. People in the boardroom know it because I get my fan out.
Right, I do too. I think mine's in my handbag.
So that's an additional level of, that we have to cope with. But so the business that I'm in at Vital, we're very much on the on the exit path, and it's something that I'm going to have to watch out. For me, basically, to kind of go, this is a marathon, not a sprint, and I have to be able to work sustainably. I do have the support of my team around me, actually, and the team in the boardroom as well. They do know that that's kind of a weakness of mine.
And I want to thank you.
But I know it, it's kind of... No,
I think it's really important. And I'm just going to touch on that note when you spoke about burnout and the importance of trying to find the balance. But you went a step further and actually spoke about, no, I have actually been hospitalised, not once, but twice. It's so important that we do take care of ourselves. I think another important message is that employers and people that we work with, like, we are still human. We might push ourselves, and you might want some access to us and come to the office, and we have question after question, but we're still humans. We still have to replenish ourselves. We still have to nourish ourselves. And when we're working on those heavy transactions, it's so easy to get consumed in the work. You do forget.
And it's literally eat, sleep, repeat.
Right. So I want to thank you for bringing that to our attention, because anyone out there looking at success and challenges, like, this is one of them. And it's a real one, and it does happen. So thank you very much for that. So when we think about successful career and we have the title, what would you define as being successful? That's beyond the title, beyond the compensation.
I think it's about the legacy and what you can give back. So nowadays, I mean, work is still very consuming, but I actually enjoy doing some of the other work that I'm doing, being a board member of a charity, for example. So I've recently got involved with a charity to do with Parkinson's disease, so a Northern Line Parkinson's disease support group.
Amazing.
And it just came about because a friend of my chairman basically was diagnosed with Parkinson's, and so I've been working with them, and being able to give something back to these people has just been incredibly rewarding. And you think, actually, this is my time now. I feel like I've done what I could in my career, and I mean, there's still life, in the person for sure, but I want to be able to give back a bit more now to other people around me, and so it's still continuing to promote my team, doing things like that, but then the charitable work. Also, I'm on the Diverse Heat Network board, where we're trying to promote diversity in the heat network industry, which is very, very male oriented, basically. So again, there's lots of work being done on that, and I think, looking back on my success, it will be that more than I've done X number of exit or so many transaction. It's just been a role model for people, and be able to give back and have them benefit from your expertise for nothing, basically.
No, I think that's amazing, and thank you.
Do charity as
well. I do. So I work with Montessori Global Education, and I just love giving back. I have my network, which we sponsor a school in the West Indies, so we flew over there and with t-shirts, shirts and all sorts, just to replenish some of the children. I think we served around 88 children. There's something about, yes, we have the career and we have the ability to reach far and wide, so why not put that back? So I love the fact that you do that. No, well done to that. So coming up from FD to CFO, one of the things that really, I think, underpinned me and helped me was network. I think it's so important, especially as a female, to have like a network of people that surrounds you and helps you, especially when it comes to things like burnout, or even from an elevation perspective, like just to bounce some ideas off. Is there a network around Cécile at all?
There is a bit of a network, I think it's people that I have kind of found along the way, and I've become close to some of my ex-colleagues or friends outside of the industry, basically. But who all have their specialism and help me on a day-to-day basis. And of course, I still go to Paul every so often to kind of go, what do you think of this? Or, what did we do in that year? And I think that's important. And then the support at home. I've had supportive husbands along the way, not at the same time again. That comment was made. And David, my other half, is very, very supportive, and we kind of fuel from each other. So I'd like to think I support him as well in his ambition, and there's never a night where if we're on the sofa, both of us kind of watching TV, but also working on a laptop, there's not one of us going, right, can you stop this or whatever. We support each other, and we know that has to be done basically, because there is a board meeting, or there is a transaction happening, or things like that. So I think that network's very very important.
Excellent. And before we wrap this up, there's one thing that I was asked by a young person that's journeying up through the ACCA. They said, you have to ask Cécile, like, what are the 3 things that she would like someone who's listened to this podcast to take away? So I'm going to ask you, what are the 3 things that you would like somebody to take away from this podcast, or hearing you speak about your journey to CFO?
I would say the first one will be, it's good to know the numbers, but you've got to be able to tell the story.
Right.
And again, that comes with experience, I think. Yeah. Because often, and I was the same when I was going through the rank, often you kind of go, right, here's your analysis, and it's a table.
And you
basically. Run. Yeah, exactly. And it's a table of numbers. Or, when I first joined Vital Energi, the board report for finance, this finance section, was literally 4 pages of Word with a few tables, and there was hardly any information in there. Right. So I think being able to tell the story and give some proper insight is very key. Analysing the data to then be able to say, right, based on this is the information that you need to make a decision. Yeah. That to me is very, very important. And you don't necessarily get that from technical accountant initially. So people becoming business partners, that's a very big transition that they have to make. Right? Because a lot of people, I guess the business partner type title is quite new. I think when we started studying, we didn't have that. Right,
it was financial management, and then you go
management accountant or whatever. But now you've very much got that business partner, and it is in many professions actually. HR have got them, etc. IT. But I think in finance, this kind of business partnering is all about actually understanding the business and being able to translate complex financial information into information that you can make decisions about. And that actually takes me into my second point, which is please go out in the business.
Okay.
Do not just sit behind your spreadsheet.
So not just behind the numbers.
Thinking that you're doing your job, but just go and understand the operation, go and understand what people are doing basically on a day-to-day basis, how the business runs. So you will see me with a hard hat on a site whenever I can, or going through our energy from waste plant, because you can't just understand the business. We're just looking at the spreadsheet or the numbers. I think that be curious basically. Just get out and also be seen. Anyway, you want to be seen. You don't want just to be a number.
Correct.
In the finance department, which very often is called the back office.
Or support function.
So you're very much kind of leading along that way anyway. So just get out and be seen and be curious. And then the third one, I would say, has to do with emotional intelligence and the softer skill, which again, I'm still on the journey to try and, especially when you do a lot of transformation. So I like to have an impact on the culture in a business, not just finance. And I think as a CFO, you can absolutely do that. The CFO kind of, you're in the boardroom, you've got. You can extend to your remit basically, and culture absolutely has to be part of it. Especially when you look towards an exit, for example, the culture of the organisation is really key. So having that kind of emotional intelligence to be able to speak to people and get people on the journey and influence that culture and the transformation that's needed. Because any business that I've experienced going through exit has to have some transformation to some degree, and we're definitely going through that at Vital Energi at the moment. So I think that emotional intelligence and the shaping the culture, like being an influencer basically, is important.
No, thank you very much. Well, Cécile, it's come to the end of our podcast, our new podcast, which you're the first guest for. I want to thank you for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here today. My name is Rachel Shorter. You are listening to ACCA Journey to CFO. We'll see you here next week.